Welcome. Welcome to the NexGen show. Today, we have a very special guest we will be talking to, and a young lady who is involved in brand strategy and working her way up in her organization and agency. And we will be talking about some interesting aspects of how she looks at the business and how she frames the challenges ahead. So I would like to introduce Kerryane.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate your time. Let me start very quickly.
Yeah.
Why are you involved in strategy?
So actually, this was actually a big play that I actually wanted to become a creative at first, because what I learned from my university was basically Adobe and stuff. But one day it just turned out when I was going through what I should do for my internship, I just thought, strategy was a different name. So why not just try and attempt if this is the thing I wanted to do? Because creative, I've been dealing with it for, I think, a few years already.
You mentioned just now, creative is Adobe and stuff. What do you mean by that?
So basically, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, everything there. I'm like, okay. So technical stuff, do I want to do it? Yes, I love doing designing.
Yes.
But do I want to do it for a few years? Do I like to be pitched to clients? And do I really want to talk to clients about my creative ideas? So because I don't like being judged when I'm doing the creative. You know, creatives, we have that ego when it comes to like photo designs, when clients say, no, this is not what I want to. But you're like, no, I think this is nice enough. Yeah, that huge debate, I really don't want to work with that.
Yes, but you're not very far off. There are a lot of people who think like that also, and believe in that way. The world should be run by templates and stuff like that. But truly, in your journey that you're doing now is you're creating as you go along.
Yes. So being a strat planner, I feel like it's a different way to be creative, because most of the time, if I don't deal with images or like real stuff like campaigns, what can I do beyond that? That was what I think when I was being an intern. So I thought of maybe getting exposed to something new, because I used to be understanding about what journalism was, what PR was. Everything was really like right in front of consumers. What can we do behind the consumers? That was what I asked from the industry when I was planning to actually come into that.
Okay. Well, in brand planning, you really need to understand the consumer's culture.
Yes, correct.
It's not an easy, it's not an easy challenge.
Yeah, so every day you're like wearing a different shoe, even from thinking from what is it to feel like a Gen Alpha, or what is it to be a pregnant mother? I thought it was really interesting how we actually look into all these subcultures, because how we size the target consumers is not only about their generation or about their age. Is how we structure their background and how the mother is actually brought up. Maybe even the household influences how we think, or even the subcultures. For example, like if me and you, we are interested in advertising, maybe we have some subcultures in designing. But what if the mother is working as a finance department? She might be interested in like investments or stuff. So every day it's a good play, because I get to learn a different mind, and that's what's interesting about the job, I feel.
Yes, of course. Every day is a new experience, yeah?
Yeah, every day is a new identity.
As we grow and as time passes, the culture becomes another culture.
Yes, it's just a blink of an eye.
How do you frame this this sort of approach, yeah? Culture-centric approach, right?
So working with my current agency, they actually have a platform where we actually spot for changes in the culture itself. It's not only the culture in Malaysia, but way beyond, like what's happening in the Western country or the whole Asia. How is it changing? And if we speak about culture, it's not a thing that will stay for a few months. It's a thing that will actually impact your business for 3 and 5 more years. And I feel like that's a better push for the clients to actually understand what culture exactly is, and how does it look like, instead of just looking on trends. Because trends might die down into like 3 months, 5 months, when it just pops up in your FYP because someone is playing the song for 100 times, right? But culture on the other side is something that people every day actually talk about, like what people talk about K-pop, or even some people talk about investments. It's also a kind of culture that we feel like we actually need to understand because people have different viewpoints, and people with all these subcultures, they're actually experts in some ways.
I feel that it's very tough sometimes, yeah, because a brand just wants to increase sales.
Yes.
And here comes along Kerryane Tan and talking to them about culture, and it's perhaps that's a subculture to that culture, you know.
Yeah. So I would say my job is like a Sherlock Holmes job. That you actually have to invest a lot into stringing up stuff, what connects the culture to the brand. And when you come to clients, it's not just in their face telling them, oh, we are seeing this culture and it's changing. We feel like it's better for the clients to understand their consumer in the different perspective. So even though when we really need to pitch with the clients, the first thing we'll bring up is what's changing in the industry itself, the client's industry and not ours industry. And then only I slowly bring up my culture to actually sell what I really love and what we hope the brand can connect to. Okay.
Well, we live in a very diverse country.
Yep.
We are a hotbed of culture.
Yes.
Yeah. We've got all kinds of interesting behaviors in our cultures. How does that affect, how does that influence what you're doing?
I would say Malaysia is really beautiful in how we embrace our culture and how we actually slice it out so differently, but we try to connect with each other. Even like sometimes when we speak about culture, it's always the race first or religion first, but there's no wrong. And I think that's what makes it beautiful, because we, like for example, Chinese or Malays, we might want to understand our cultural differences and try to find a bit that really connect. What I see, for example, because my first job was with the agency that time, was actually looking onto Chinese New Year ads.
Okay.
And I thought it was really beautiful when the team, we just sit down and we try to find an insight for that ad. And I think at one point we saw in that ad that really connects not only the Chinese consumers, but our Malay and Indian team. They actually spot something that's so culturally relevant. Because in Chinese, we used to go back to our parents' house when once you're married, you have to go back to your parents' house at the second day. And it same goes to the Malay culture also. And I thought it was like so fascinating how we actually find out the similar cultures that we share. And I feel like there's something a brand should play with and actually connect Malaysians as Malaysians. We should be Malaysian first before what we think about our culture. So Malaysian culture, what's Malaysian culture? That's what I always want to ask for my ads. And even pitching to ideas, I always think, shouldn't it be Malaysian first instead of sizing us on behalf of our household, our races, or even our religions? Because Malaysia, what is the common thing between Malaysians?
So you are discovering as many similarities as we have in differences, yeah?
Yes.
So how do you see in terms of moving forward? You give me an impression that there's a whole fertile opportunity for imagination in our space. How do you see yourself in your role as a strategy planner moving forward in this regard?
So actually my role, I would say every day is to spike our creatives to actually think of something new beyond that. That's what makes my job, I love my job so much, is because that every day sitting down with a creative, you actually get something new from them. But what we can give back to them is interesting consumer insights. Like what we do sometimes is social listening, what we can read from TikTok or anything that we understand what consumers are actually looking for. It's not just consumers complimenting the brand. Maybe consumers are saying, oh, actually I'm finding a lot of acne on my face. Mm-hmm. Do you come up with something I can just eat in? Because recently there's an edible trend for cosmetics. So then is it that we as a creative agency might pitch this idea to a client and they might come up with edible cosmetics?
So for you to function and build a chemistry with the creative people in the process, you also need to understand the culture of advertising itself, isn't it?
Correct. So that's how I started as a creative. That time before I stepped into the strategy world, I feel like I have a peak of how creatives think. That's why when I move into how strategy is, I kind of think in their shoes also, because that's what our work is, has to think in everyone's shoe in order to build a point to share it to someone. And even to share it with a creative, you have to speak their voice instead of speaking like a strat. Because strat people, we might have a different point of view as a creative. Maybe our graphic designers, our art directors, they have different kind of understand and they have their own language. So do we as strat try and speak their language instead of just throwing everything, data sets or consumer insights to them? That's what me and my team, most of the time, we revise on it also.
That's a big leap. Huh? That's culture brings maturity to that whole relationship in that regard.
Yes.
Can I ask you something? What do you think about the marketing culture in Malaysia? Generally.
Well, based on my baby experience that I have right now, so generally, I hope that we can be more brave. Because a lot of times when we kind of study back about case studies and stuff, it's always case studies from Singapore or even Thailand or even the America. But where is Malaysia? So I hope maybe our marketing side could actually try to do big. Well, of course, doing big means there's a lot of backslash because Malaysia, we are really sensitive in a lot of stuff. So then is it that we do the brave thing?
Yes. In fact, in the sensitivities comes the challenges, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if we were to, how do we sidestep the sensitivity and actually get into a better ad? I think that's like the best. How do we do that? Wow, that's a lot of questions that I would throw to the creatives.
Yes.
And then they'll throw back to me. It's a debate between us, but I think it's like really fun because...
But if you think about it, if you do find a solution, right?
Yeah, we do.
Way forward, you are considered the best in the world. Because most markets are homogeneous, isn't it?
Correct. And Malaysia, we're trying, they are putting us in a square and we are trying to sidestep the square. I think that's where it makes our ads really interesting.
And every breakthrough you make is actually a record. It's I believe that, you know.
I hope that happens one day.
Thank you, Kerryane. It's been lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've been talking to Kerryane Tan, and we've been talking about culture and how it affects our industry. Till the next episode, thank you.